What's going on, Tamers? It's me, Guy, taking away his precious Street Fighter training time to talk about Digimon for the week. Seriously, it's only been like 2 days, and check the blade time. I might have a problem. But on the topic of Digimon, we are in the 14th week of the BT13 versus Royal Knights Meta over here in Japan. I think we've just passed the 3 months mark for this set. And this week saw the introduction of the new starter deck cards featuring some of the ace cards, but also the supporting cards in those decks power up a lot of decks that are already out there. We're also in this weird limbo state where we know what the restricted cards are going to be, but it's not going to go into effect until June 16th over here in Asia. For folks playing over there in the West, the restricted list went into effect on June 1st, so you guys are already playing with things like where Garurumon, the promo one, restricted to 1 per deck. If for whatever reason this is news to you and you want to know more about what the new restricted list cards are and when they went into effect, definitely take a look on the channel because I did an entire video detailing all of that. But with these 2 points in mind, let's take a look at some of the event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a closer look at some of the decks that topped last week. So again, with the new Greymon and Garurumon starter decks released, considering the Greymon deck does give support to War Greymon, I don't think there was any reality where Greymon didn't just perform the best over the course of this past week. Though I will mention, I think it's pertinent here that the decks are kind of split. It seems like there's half the decks like not using any of the new support, while another half of the deck are trying out things like Black Agumon and Black Greymon cards. And then as we go down the list, we see things like Bloomlord and Belphemon. A lot of these decks did get hit with the restricted list announcement, and so I think people are giving these decks their last hurrah before they probably get phased out. Once you go past Greymon and Bloomlord, it feels like a lot of decks here are really fighting for viability. You see in the rookie level here, we have a lot of decks that would normally be seen somewhere in the champion or the ultimate level in previous weeks before. I can say that it feels like we have a really good mix of viable decks right now. Couple of interesting points here. The first one, Belphemon actually saw a bit of a buff thanks to the new purple Mat Tamer that was released in the starter deck, being able to gain memory off of discarding on either turn, and because Belphemon has effects that allow you to discard on your opponent's turn, that's a really good way to steal a turn from somebody. If you're interested in seeing what that list looks like, definitely keep watching because we're going to take a look at that one very soon. Another interesting point here is that even though the Where Garurumon promo card is going to be restricted over here in Asia on the 16th of June, we are still seeing people try out a Metal Garurumon deck or a Garurumon deck not using that Where Garurumon card at all. Personally, I feel like the new purple Where Garurumon that's included in the starter deck just fills into that spot really well, being able to attack 2 times anyway. And then we see lots of decks that have been up here before, things like Hunters, Mirage, Galgamon, Royal Knights. Royal Knights has seen a bit of a resurgence in the past couple weeks. It's nice to see that actually. Shine Greymon, Ulforce Yugioh took a couple wins over last week. Alphamon as well as Gallantmon. I love the discard variant of Gallantmon. If you guys are looking for an interesting deck to play when EX4 comes out, definitely give that deck a shot, it's so fun. And then finishing up the list here, things like Grandis, Jessmon, Mastamon, as well as Ragnalord. And then as we drop down into the in-training level here, really interesting Chessmon deck that I didn't expect to see. That's pretty cool to see there. D-Brigade also sticking around here, I think with the recent announcement of some support for the actual D-Brigade cards, as well as a lot of the Digi-Police cards that are coming out soon in BT14, this deck is going to be sticking around a lot longer. And then rounding out our list, things like Dark Knight, as well as the actual Metal Garurumon X Antibody deck, which is probably going to see a big hit after the restricted list announcement goes into effect over here in Asia, as well as a really cool Minerva Loop deck that actually takes advantage of some of the discard cards from the new starter deck as well. And then finally rounding out our list is going to be Crossheart. So our first dive into some of the decks that top last week is going to be this Greymon build that uses some of the new support cards as well as the new War Greymon Ace cards. I think long ago there was this battle between the red and the black Greymon decks out there, but it feels like red really won that war. But with the addition of the new starter deck cards, it feels like black may make a resurgence here. We see again the black base for the Agumons as well as the black Agumon X Antibody, and then the new Agumon card here from the starter deck, which gives you memory at the start of your main phase as well as gives you memory whenever attacks get redirected. Look at some of the level 4s here, the one restricted copy of Greymon X Antibody, kind of a staple in the deck at this point because it's so good, as well as 4 copies of the new starter deck Greymon. Now this guy is nice because he gives you a security effect of being able to play a Tai or an Agumon from the trash whenever he's checked in security, and he also just has blocker in his own right. Additionally, like the Agumon before him, he also has the effect to gain memory whenever an attack is redirected on either turn, as well as 4 copies of things like the BT12 Greymon, allowing you to play a Tai Tamer for free whenever he's played. So personally, I've actually tried this list out a bit, and I can say that the red Greymon X Antibody here does feel a little bit clunky, and that's because in some cases he cannot just digivolve from one of your Agumon unless it's the BT12 version here. He only digivolves from a Greymon card for 0, but he has to digivolve from a red otherwise. And because the black base of this deck makes it a little bit difficult, this card might be a little weird to use initially. And then as we move on to our level 5s, where I think this deck is going to see the most use of the new starter deck support cards in the Greymon and Agumon, is going to be with the Metal Greymon. Because he has the raid ability, it allows him to change attack targets, and when you do that, you're going to be able to gain memory off of the inheritance effect of the Agumon and Greymon I mentioned before. And then looking at the level 6s, this deck runs a very very heavy skew toward the War Greymon Ace cards, where I think that some decks are trying out like 2 War Greymon Aces plus like some other War Greymon like the BT12 War Greymon, and then War Greymon X. This one is solely focused on the War Greymon Ace being able to have blocker and allow you to redirect attacks, so also gain memory off of those Agumon and Greymon cards. A little bit of a surprise for me taking a look at this deck is that it doesn't include any copies of Hottest Force. I think most War Greymon decks have set Hottest Force to 2 per deck, but it feels like this one instead decided to go really heavy on the level 3s because most of the level 3s in this deck do search out in some form. So maybe they feel like they can outpace things like Hunters and Crossheart rather than having to use the Hottest Force to get rid of some of their tamers in the late game. Interesting to note that this deck is running the full Cool Boy package instead of running any copies of the 3-cost Tie Tamer. And I think that this is because the deck is focused on speed, and so where the Tie Tamer would allow you to gain some defense and things like blocker plus the 1000 DP, the Cool Boy also gives you memory similar to the Tie Tamer, but he's also cheaper and he has a bit more search. So yeah, very overall cool deck. I love the idea of just using the War Greymon package as before, and then being able to steal turns with the new Agumon and Greymon cards, and then finally using the War Greymon Ace here as a defensive tool, and then the following turn evolving over it with the War Greymon X antibody and just winning the game. We're also going to take a quick peek at the Belphemon deck that I mentioned before. This deck doesn't really change too much up from the normal Belphemon recipe, but it does include 3 copies of the new Matte Tamer from the starter deck, allowing you to discard cards and gain memory, and also setting you to minimum 3 memory every single turn, which is fantastic support for the way Belphemon works. So if you've got a Belphemon deck just sitting around and you want to buff it up and give it another shot, definitely just add in a couple copies of this Matte Tamer and you should be good to go. Looking at the other side of the coin here, a deck that does take full advantage of the new support from the Metal Garurumon cards is going to be the actual Metal Garurumon deck itself. Now this one is a purple base with a little bit of blue sprinkled in there. You see the blue cards coming in the form of the X antibody cards, just for survivability and more searchability. The new Were Garurumon from the starter deck is 8000 DP and is not that strong, so just to make sure he survives some of those security swings, you want to include a couple copies of the Garurumon X antibody in the deck as well. And while the Garurumon X antibody is really good, sometimes the deck might feel a little bit clunky because it's going to be difficult to digivolve off of any of your level 3s except the Gabumon X antibody here. So you have to be careful, especially going from level 3s to level 4s for this deck. But once you get there, if you can clear that, you should be good to go. And then outside of that, it's just stuff to take full advantage of the new Metal Garurumon Ace card, allowing you to discard cards and gain memory off it on the Blast Digivolve. We see things like the Nidhoggmon, as well as things like calling up the Underworld to draw cards as well as gain memory. And then to round out the deck, we see a couple copies of some of the Were Garurumon plus cards, things like Sagittarius mode, as well as the X antibody for an extra swing. And then 2 copies of the fantastic option card, Tears of Friendship. If you guys aren't believers in this card, please give it a try. It is so good. Now you're probably wondering what this Ginkakumon Pro mode is doing in the deck, these 2 copies here in the very center. Now, this deck actually gains a ton of memory very efficiently off of things like the Metal Garurumon Ace, the Nidhoggmon, as well as the Matte Tamer here, all being able to give you a bunch of memory for essentially almost no cost. Now, because of that, it's really easy to either just hard drop a 6 cost or to digivolve one of your level 3s into this Ginkakumon Pro mode in order to get the final swing for game. Where normally I think we would see something like a Blitz Omnimon to finish up a game here in a Garurumon based deck. However, because the Metal Garurumon for this deck is purple, it cannot actually digivolve into that Omnimon. An option that you don't see pictured in this deck is actually the idea of going for the Metal Garurumon X antibody over the Metal Garurumon Ace, and then going into the Blitz Omni for game. That way you get 2 more additional swings for pretty cheap after the turn you use Metal Garurumon Ace there. So that's one option as well. And the last deck we're going to take a look at today is going to be an improved version of Machinedramon and Chaosdramon using some of the new starter deck cards. What's really nice about the addition of the new Agumon and Greymon cards in this deck is that once you get to your Machinedramon or Chaosdramon and you have an analog man on the board, you can change attack targets and then gain memory off of those inheritance effects that way. This really feels like it beefs up the control power of this deck once you actually get the Machinedramon and Chaosdramon on board. We also see some of the level 5s represented in the starter deck here as well. Things like the Metal Greymon here, who has blocker, and inheritance he has security attack +1, and also the Andramon, who on Digivolve he can de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon 1 stage, and then on inheritance he has Reboot. And as someone who's put in a lot of work to Machinedramon and Chaosdramon himself, I gotta say I'm really interested in what the next few weeks look like with some of the new support for these starter deck cards, because I'm definitely interested in seeing what this deck can do with them. And with that, our Week 14 recap of the BT13 versus Royal Knight set over here in Asia is coming to a close. Now, with the addition of these new starter deck cards, I'm really excited to see how things shake up. The new Ace cards specifically, I've been having a ton of fun with these things, and they definitely turn the game on its head. And if this is the direction that Bandai is going, I'm very excited for the future of Digimon. And because this is just a taste of what's to come in the new BT14 set that's going to be releasing at the end of this month, I cannot wait to see what putting more Ace cards into the mix does for the game. Also, if you're interested more in these Ace cards in general, I did a very deep dive in a video detailing what those cards do, how they work, and how they can change the game moving forward. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.